So the fuel tanks on these things are set up relatively simple. It's just a strap band. You got two lines on top. One is a crossover and the other is the supply line. So I'm gonna go ahead and undo those supply lines and then I guess lube up these clay packed bolts here and zip those out and see if I can't just slide the whole tank forward. Can't be much fuel in there, I don't think. So shouldn't be too big of a deal. And then once that's off, I'll have these brackets that bolt right to the frame. I'll just take the brackets off, reassemble with this, and I can use these to test fit inside the frame. So let's go ahead and get that knocked out. Made quick work with the cordless impact. We got two fuel lines on top that just barely won't slide all the way out because of the pinch frame, or pinch rail on the body. If you work on these trucks all the time, then you probably know this. This little simple task of just slipping the tank out has been actually one of the more inconvenient things on this truck. But there is definitely room to get in there and fight with it. And you find that the hoses or lines are just as tight as you are strong. Is when you start to hear a bunch of popping in the shoulders, the bolts or the shoulder of the cap nut is about to come loose. So if you're doing this at home, just stick with it. You can break the lines loose while it's in there. The tank is out. There's no reason to show how hard that was to fight out. Spoiler alert, it's got a lot more fuel in it than I thought. It's heavier when you're holding it than when you're not. So we just got those 4 bolts there. Boom, 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 boom on each bracket. And then this bracket's gonna come free. At some point we'll relocate the batteries. But as you can start to see now, the goal is to get all this stuff off the side of the truck. Pretty much drops in perfect. There's no reason for it to have this lift anymore. So I think I'm gonna cut that off and bring that line up here and weld it here on that side as well. So that'll be fastened to the bed frame and that'll be one piece that'll come up and down. And then I'll throw something under on the inside of this frame rail to this frame rail that this also rests on. So it won't be suspended like it was before where it can kind of bounce. It'll all be rigid. So we cut the tops off of there, the unnecessary bit fits in nice. Ended up having to take that foot bracket off. It was fighting me more than it was helping me. So weld that in nice, all the way around there. And it just sits perfectly. I didn't bend that. That was already kind of bent, so I guess there's a reasonable amount of deflection in it for preload or something, I'm not sure. Depending on how low that hangs whenever it's got a full tank in it, I may actually come back and weld that in, but that sits just over this lip. So I could shim it, I could make a bracket for it. That I'm not really sure of. That one I'm gonna check that one in the 4th quarter. But as far as this goes, that bracket's gonna fit nicely, and then I'll just have a medium fight there trying to get those straps buckled in once the actual tank's sitting in it. But I think it's gonna work. Probably the wise thing to do is I'll probably like lightly tack that, pull the straps loose and set the tank in it just to make sure that I'm not completely cutting myself off at the knees. All right, so I got those welded in. At the very last minute I decided to drop it down a little bit because the filler neck's gonna be over here. So just to give me a little bit extra room to play. The tricky thing is you don't wanna go too low because I've only got about, and I doubt I'll use all of it, but 6 inches of travel between where the bottom of the tank will be and the top of the diff pumpkin. So that should be plenty of room to work. If it's not, then that'll be a really fun thing to sort out later. But the next thing to do is pop this whole bracket off and get it outside and start cleaning it up. After some light negotiating, tank slips right in. There's a little bracket that I never noticed before sticking out of the side right around there. That was keeping it from dropping in, but you can see the removal tool, the tab removal tool took care of it. See, it just happened to land right there, exactly where I needed it to be. But lop that off, slips right in. There's like little to no wiggle room. So it should be good to go now. Just got to squeeze the straps in. They'll barely fit, but squeeze the straps in, fasten it down, and roll it outside, pressure wash it, and that'll be done. At some point, I'm gonna either tie this filler neck right here to that filler neck. If I don't have the clearance, because it's pretty high, then I'll just come around the side and pop a hole in the side of the tank with a hole saw or something, and then use that top filler as an access point to hold like the backer nut or whatever on the tank fitting that I'll put on it. And then slap the sending unit in. The other tank has a sending unit, this one does not. Got two holes, a supply and a return line on top of the tank, and of course a vent line. So that's really straightforward. After that, it's just extending fuel lines, which it's relatively low pressure, so I can just use some old copper hose or something, or if I want to have new lines made, I can have new lines made. It's just diesel, low pressure diesel. So let's get this thing shoved out, I guess, and start pressure washing, paint it up.